Hello and welcome to our viewers around the world. You've been watching special coverage of the OJ Simpson decision, and welcome now to a special edition of The World Right Now. I'm Hannah Vaughan-Jones in for Hala Gharani, and we begin, of course, with that breaking news on one of the most notorious public figures of the last 3 decades. Disgraced football star and celebrity OJ Simpson will soon be able to leave the Nevada prison where he has served 9 years for armed robbery, kidnapping and assault. Those charges stem from a night back in 2007 when Simpson and armed associates entered a Las Vegas hotel room to take back personal items. The reason O.J. Simpson is in jail has no legal tie to the so-called trial of the century in 1995, when Simpson was acquitted of double murder charges. So much has happened in the 22 years since that trial gripped the United States and, of course, the wider world. But bringing us back to Nevada just a short time ago, this was the moment the world heard the news of O.J. Simpson's parole.
So based on all of that, Mr. Simpson, I do vote to grant parole when eligible, and that will conclude this hearing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, before that decision, O.J. Simpson answered the parole board's questions. Take a listen.
Are you humbled by this incarceration?
Oh, yes, for sure. As I said, I wish it would have never happened. I was going to start, I didn't know how we were going to do this, by apologizing to the people of Nevada, because I wish this would have never happened. I apologized to them at my sentencing. You know, there's nothing I can do about this kind of media circus that's going on right now, but I could do something about the whole thing in the beginning. If I would have made a better judgment back then, none of this would have happened. And I take full responsibility because I should have never, you know, I haven't made any excuses in 9 years here, but I should have never allowed these alleged security guys to help me, because it turned out they were only trying to help themselves. If they weren't there, Bruce and I, we tried to do this. We tried to sit down in the room and call this guy Mike Gilbert and discuss it all, but these guys took over and we were unable to do that.
Attorney and legal journalist Michael Bryant joins me now from New York via Skype. Michael is a correspondent for The Legal Edge, and he interviewed O.J. Simpson before he was convicted in that robbery trial 9 years ago. Michael, good to have you on. O.J. Simpson, throughout that hearing, he looked relaxed. He looked very relieved at the decision. What's your reaction?
That's OJ. You know, he rolls with the punches. He has some ability to kind of compartmentalize his life, the good and the bad. And, you know, he felt cocky about it going in. You could just tell, which didn't surprise me at all. And I think the 9 years that he's been in prison has allowed him to process, I'm guilty, I'm serving my time, but I'm counting the days till I get out.
You spoke to him just before he went into jail some 9 years ago. At that time, was he accepting of the path of justice that had been handed down to him? And do you sense a difference now, perhaps?
You know, it's funny. I don't think he really even thought that being convicted was a possibility back then. I think he was somewhat amused by the process. Remember, he kind of got off on a big deal a number of years before. And I think that's got to make you feel like you can get off with anything, you know, whether in his mind he believes he did something wrong or not. He's figured, I beat the system pretty badly once before. This is nothing compared to that. And he's right in terms of crimes to be accused of. It was nothing. It was a joke. But he didn't beat the system. And we will never know if those jurors were making their decision based on what they had hoped might have happened back in L.A., or if they were making it purely based on the evidence in front of them at the time of trial. We'll never know.
Unanimous decision, nevertheless, from this parole board, 4 out of 4 all saying that they would indeed grant parole to O.J. Simpson. What does the future look like for him? Do we know what the conditions of this parole or where he might live now?
Well, we know he's going to go to Florida, and they've already got the people in place to make that happen. It's a very common process where you get out of a prison in one state, you apply to live in another state. The parole conditions follow you. And with him, I'm sure they'll be very typical of most cases like this. Don't associate with known felons, and you know, don't leave that state, Florida in this case, unless you have approval to do so, and you may not get that approval depending on where he wants to go. And I think one of the interesting wrinkles in this whole deal was not just the proceeding, but the concern the commissioners had was about the drinking. Now, yes, there was alcohol involved prior to this crime in the hotel in Las Vegas. They seem to make it look like that in itself made him an alcoholic. And the problem is that OJ had promised back in the prior parole hearing that he would go to the AA program provided through the prison. He didn't do it. He just blew it off. And that's clearly going to be a condition of his parole now. He's going to have to be squeaky clean. They may limit the drinking to anything less than whatever in excess might be. But he's going to have an alcoholic prohibition or restriction of some sort in that condition list.
What about the type of life that he will lead, given the money that he may still have within his estate? And also, is this a man who still seeks the public limelight, or will he shy away from it now?
Oh, man, this guy loves to talk. I'm telling you, that's how I got to know him as I did and how I got the interview that I did. He loves to talk about himself, his exploits, his artificial knees. I mean, anything. If you want to listen to somebody talk, if you ever just ran into this guy in a bar, you'd never get out of the place. He loves to chat and he loves the limelight because he's used to it. And now he has, another forum. Is he going to be making public appearances? I doubt it, but he won't have to because people will follow him around. He's going to go golfing all the time. That's his thing. He's a passionate golfer. And he's got the money, hidden though it may be, from the Goldman family, who are still trying to collect millions and millions from him. He'll be just fine. Everybody should live the life he's going to live in Florida.
Michael Bryant, great to get your perspective. We appreciate it. Michael Bryant there, live for us there via Skype from New York. That is the breaking news that we've been bringing you over the course of the last hour or so. OJ Simpson will walk free as soon as October. Plenty more on this and the other stories around the world after the break.